If you're someone that is striving to achieve your goals and you're continually working towards them, taking action, but you feel like whatever you do, you just can't get to that finish line. And maybe you've tried this over and over and over again, and it's starting to become a little bit discouraging. Maybe you start to feel like it's maybe not what you're supposed to do. I'm going to go through the reason why this happens and some things that you can do to overcome this cycle so you can reach your goals. The answer to why this happens is more biological than you think. If you're finding that you're going through this cycle over and over and over again, maybe at some point you stop working towards your goals, give yourself a break, and you start doing it again, but you find that you're in exactly the same situation as you were in before, and it just feels like this goal is just nowhere to be reached. Now, this is happening because you're in survival mode. You're in fight or flight mode. Your sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive. Your amygdala is overactive. Now, when you're constantly in this cycle and you're constantly feeling stress in your life, your amygdala is in the driver's seat. Your amygdala is your brain's fight or flight center. It's your brain's fear center. It's your brain's stress center. And what happens is your amygdala sends these responses that you're feeling, such as the stress or anxiety, to your hypothalamus. Your hypothalamus sends a chemical down to your pituitary gland, and your pituitary gland sends a hormone all the way down to your adrenal glands. And what happens in your adrenal glands is this is when cortisol gets released. And cortisol is the stress hormone. So you start to feel anxious, your heartbeat starts to go up, your breathing rate goes up, and it starts to get more overwhelming for you. And what happens is the more stressed you feel, the more anxiety you feel. This cycle repeats itself. So the feeling of stress becomes physical in our body and starts to affect the way that our bodies are functioning. And when this happens, our prefrontal cortex, by the way, I did my best trying to draw a brain, and this is the best that I could do, but what I recommend is go online and have a look at it yourself, okay? Anyway, let's get back to it. But once this cycle occurs, cortisol is released, your prefrontal cortex becomes less active. And your prefrontal cortex is your brain's CEO. It's your logical thinking center. It's the center where it comes up with solutions to problems. It's your creative center. And when that's less active, it's more difficult for you to come up with answers. It's more difficult for you to think of solutions. It's more difficult for you to be logical. The answer to a problem might be right in front of your eyes, but you can't see the answer. And guess what? Based on the emotions that you feel within your environment, certain genes are more active and certain genes are less active. So if you're feeling stressed and you have anxiety, genes that are related to stress are more active. And what happens is the more stressed you feel, the more anxious you feel, your body and your brain just keep on going through this process. So your amygdala sends the response to your hypothalamus sends the chemicals down to your pituitary gland sends a hormone to your adrenal glands, cortisol is released. So you go through this cycle, and the more that you're going through this cycle, the more that you are making the connections in your neural pathways stronger for you to continue feeling like this. So when these neural pathways are stronger, it's more, your brain becomes more responsive, your body becomes more responsive for you to feel the stress within your environment. So it becomes a loop. This is actually called a feedback loop. I'm going to erase my amazing drawing. Feedback loop. Feedback loop. So you feel the stress, The more stress you feel, the more this cycle keeps on repeating itself, repeating itself, repeating itself. This is the feedback loop, and the more that something repeats itself, the stronger those neural pathways become. Next time you feel stress in your environment, your brain's response is quicker because it's been wired. Those neural pathways are strong. And this cycle keeps on repeating and you're not seeing the results that you want from all the hard work that you're putting in, then you might start to feel like maybe this isn't for me, maybe that's not what I'm supposed to do, it doesn't come to me easily. You start getting discouraged and you start feeling anxious, sad that you're not reaching the goals that you want to reach. And when you start feeling like that, when you start to feel like maybe this just not for me, I should just give up and do something else, things don't come to me easily, whatever it is that you're thinking is going to become your reality. Because what happens is, whatever you believe in, your brain looks to confirm what your beliefs are. So this is called confirmation bias. So let's say in this case that you lost your confidence, I'm not smart enough, it's always hard for me, then your brain is going to look for things to confirm why you're not smart enough, why it's always hard for you. It's going to search for things and pick things up in your environment that confirm whatever it believes. So that becomes your reality and you end up being stuck in this loop, even though you don't want to be stuck in this loop, even though you want to achieve your goals, even though you might have been working really hard to reach those goals and the place where you want to be. If you are not feeling good in your environment and you are not believing in your own capability to be able to achieve whatever it is that you want to do, you're going to be stuck. You're going to keep on going through that loop over and over and over again. But you can overcome that. The way that you're going to overcome that is regulating your nervous system. So I'll do NS. First thing is take your time. And what I mean by that is don't rush things. Take your time doing things. When you're rushing to get that to-do list done, when you're rushing to continually just move on to the next thing, then your body is going to be releasing that cortisol and that's when you're going to be stuck in that cycle. So take your time. Don't rush things. If you have a lot of things on for the day, do the things that are more priority on the list so you can get them out of the way and move on to the smaller things. If you have an appointment or if you have a deadline for something, start it earlier. If you have an appointment that you have to get to and you know that if you are running late, you're going to be in a stressful position, leave earlier. Get up earlier, leave earlier. Give yourself enough time to do the things that you have to get done. Just take your time. You're not in a rush. You're not in a rush to get up. You're not in a rush to make your coffee and run out that door. Just give yourself enough time, and that alone, when you start getting used to doing that, it starts feeling so much better. Because I know, because I always used to be that person that rushed to do everything. I felt like the more productive I was, the more that I got done. It's just better for me. But I was in a position where I was constantly stressed. I just wanted to get my to-do list done, but by wanting to do that, I was always rushing things. I was not doing myself any favors. I was in a constant feeling of just stress. So that alone makes a huge difference. So take your time. Now, the next thing is meditation. Never thought I would say that in my life, because when I was in that mode of stress and I was constantly trying to move on to the next thing, some people that I have in my life were telling me, why don't you try meditation? And my exact response was, I'm too stressed for that. I can't sit there doing nothing. but it is so helpful. Now, we receive most of our sensory information from our environment, from our eyes, from our sight. And when you just sit there and close your eyes, stop paying attention to the environment and everything around you, and start to focus on what is inside of you and your body and yourself, and just your thoughts, just sitting there in silence in your thoughts, is very helpful in starting to calm your nervous system down and kicking that parasympathetic nervous system. That's what we're trying to do, because if your sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive, your fight or flight nervous system, we need to work on the parasympathetic nervous system to kick in and start to make you feel more calm. So that's what we're trying to do. And meditation really, really helps with that. Just sitting there, just with your eyes closed. I recommend 15-20 minutes to start with. And at first, it might feel a little bit uneasy. That's how it felt for me. It started to make me a little bit nervous because I was sitting there doing nothing and I felt like I had to be productive, but that's just the way that I had been wired to feel. But the more you start to do this, the more easier it gets, and you start seeing the benefits of it. Now, breath work is next. Breath work. So long breaths in, hold, and release very slowly. So when your sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive and you have that anxiety, and when cortisol has been released in your body and it affects your breathing, you're breathing heavier, you might be panting, I don't know, however it affects you personally. Working on your breathing is very helpful. So work on that. You can do it during meditation while you're sitting there in silence with your eyes closed. Take a big breath in, hold, and gradually let it out. So that helps regulate your nervous system as well. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is spend time in nature. And there's a reason for that, because the fractals in nature, so such as trees and branches and clouds, and maybe you might live down the beach if you're visiting the beach and looking into the distance. Because of the way that we have evolved to process these patterns in nature, that is calming to our nervous system and helps us feel more calmer in our environment. So that is the next thing. So just, sitting at a park, sitting at the bench, just looking at the trees, looking at the clouds. So all of that. Right, the next one is tone, activate, vagus nerve. And this one gets red under it because your vagus nerve is a huge part of your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system to make you feel calmer, your rest and digest nervous system. It's a huge, huge, huge part of it. And your vagus nerve runs from your brainstem and it goes through your diaphragm, your heart, and your lungs and your stomach. It connects to these major organs. Some ways in which you can do that is humming. How this works is because your vagus nerve goes through your diaphragm and your chest, humming creates vibrations that encourages your body to shift to a more calmer state. So just a bit of humming every day can be very helpful. And the next thing that is helpful is, I've mentioned this before, but breath work. Deep breaths, hold, and slowly release. These are just a couple of the things that you can do to activate and tone your vagus nerve, which is, as I've said, a huge part of your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one that we're working on for you not to be stuck in this cycle and in that feedback loop. This isn't something that you're going to do once. This is going to be something that you're going to repeat every day until it becomes wired and becomes a part of you. It becomes a habit, so it's more easily accessible by your brain, and making those neural pathways stronger for you to make yourself calmer in stressful situations that you face in your environment. Our brains and bodies are so powerful, more powerful than we realize, because we don't consciously think about what is happening inside of our brains and bodies all the time, that are working for us 24/7 non-stop. All it takes is awareness, how our bodies, how our brains work, and bringing that into your awareness and teaching yourself, watching videos like this, looking up online on how that works, doing your own research. I hope that this video has been helpful and you can take something with you today that is going to be of help, so you can break that cycle, break that loop, and become the person and achieve your goals that you want to achieve. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one.